Okay, so excellent. For those who will be watching this video later, let me tell you that we are in the middle of what's known by many as Circe. And I will, if you look down in the description of the video, I'll put the page number and a link to the Gutenberg version if you care to read along while you're watching the tape. And with that, off we go. Murmurs. A blacksmith murmurs, for the honor of God. And as that Bloom, he scarcely looks 31. A pavior and flagger. That's the famous Bloom now, the world's greatest reformer. Hats off. All uncover their heads. Women whisper eagerly. A millionairess, richly. Isn't he simply wonderful? A noble woman, nobly. All that man has seen. A feminist, masculinely. And done. A bell hanger. A classic face. He has the forehead of a thinker. Bloom's weather. A sunburst appears in the northwest. The Bishop of Down and Connor. I here present your undoubted Emperor, President, and King Chairman, the most serene and potent and very puissant ruler of this realm. God save Leopold I. Oh, God save Leopold I. Okay, Cleveland, take it away. Are you there?
I think
they have us on mute. And
Actually, I don't see them at all. So,
I see.
there they go. There they go. So,
And
William
Mr.
Kennedy,
Yeah.
you're on mute if you're trying to say something, Cleveland.
I don't think they can hear us. I think they have a speaker.
Okay, I can ask them to unmute. Bill
Yeah.
Kennedy.
I text.
Sorry, we just had a recent arrival, Jim Toner, who was at Sweeney's on Tuesday, just showed up here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. The gang's really all here.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you, Duncan. I sent you an email this morning. I hope you got it.
Yes. Good morning, Jim.
Great.
Good evening to you.
It's good evening here in Limerick.
Yeah, we've got quite a thing going on here. Cleveland has got people from Ireland and California, and they're all gathered together. So they're going to be reading. And then
Fantastic.
You will be added to the list.
That's perfect. That was my question.
Yeah.
Are you going to read, Jim? You are. Perfect.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, thank you. I will.
Okay, so with that all done, Cleveland, take it away for us.
There you are. You're added, Jim.
Which word should we start? Sorry, I did just Jim arrived, so I just got lost there. What word?
Okay, so if you're looking at Wordsworth down towards the bottom of the page, after they say God save Leopold I.
Okay, Bloom in dalmatic and purple
yes,
mantle.
that's it, exactly.
So Bloom in dalmatic and purple mantle to the Bishop of Down and Connor with dignity. Thanks, somewhat eminent, sir. William, Archbishop of Armagh, in purple stock and shovel hat, will you to your power cause law and mercy to be executed in all your judgments in Ireland and territories thereunto belonging? Bloom, placing his right hand on his testicles, swears, so may the Creator deal with me. All this I promise to do. Michael, Archbishop of Armagh, pours a cruse of hair oil over Bloom's head. Gaudium magnum annuncio vobis, abemus carnificum. Leopold, Patrick, Andrew, David, George, be thou anointed. Bloom assumes a mantle of cloth of gold and puts on a ruby ring. He ascends and stands on the throne of destiny. The representative peers put on at the same time their 28 crowns. Joy bells ring in Christchurch, St. Patrick's, George's, and Gay Malahide. Myra's Bazaar fireworks go up from all sides with symbolical pyrotechnic designs. The piers do homage one by one, approaching and genuflecting. The piers. I do become your liege man of life and limb to earthly worship. Bloom holds up his right hand, on which sparkles the Koh-i-Noor diamond. His palfrey neighs, immediate silence. Wireless, intercontinental, and interplanetary transmitters are set for reception of message. Bloom, my subjects, we hereby nominate our faithful charger, Copula Felix Hereditary, Grand Vizier, and announce that we have this day repudiated our former spouse and have bestowed our royal hand upon the Princess Selene, the splendor of night. Next, please.
The former morganatic spouse of Bloom is hastily removed in the Black Maria. The Princess Selene, in moon blue robes, a silver crescent on her head, descends from a sedan chair borne by two giants, an outburst of cheering. John Howard Parnell raises the royal standard. Illustrious Bloom, successor to my famous brother. Bloom embraces John Howard Parnell. We thank you from all our heart, John, for this right royal welcome to Green Erin, the promised land of our common ancestors. The freedom of the city is presented to him, embodied in a charter. The keys of Dublin, crossed on crimson cushion, are given to him. He shows all that he is wearing green socks. Tom Kernan, you deserve it, Your Honor. Bloom, on this day, 20 years ago, we overcame the hereditary enemy at Ladysmith. Our howitzers and camel swivel guns played on his lines with telling effect. Half a league onward, they charge. All is lost now. Do we yield? No. We drive them headlong. Lo, we charge. Deploying to the left, our light horse swept across the heights of Neva, and uttering their war cry, Bona fide Sabbath, sabred the Saracen gunners to a man. The chapel of free men, tribe setters. Hear, hear, John Wise Nolan. That's the man that got away, James Stevens, a blue coat schoolboy. Bravo. Next.
Okay, we will go back to Cleveland and we'll stay with Cleveland now until Bill tells us that everybody's done in Cleveland, and then we'll come back to the rest of us. Okay.
An old resident. You're a credit to your country, sir. That's what you are. An apple woman. He's a man like Ireland wants. Bloom. My beloved subjects, a new era is about to dawn. I, Bloom, tell you verily, it's even now at hand. Yea, on the word of a Bloom, ye shall ere long enter into the golden city, which is to be the new Bloom's Salem in the Nova Hibernia of the future. Commentary, 32 workmen wearing rosettes from all the counties of Ireland under the guidance of Derwin the Builder construct the new Bloom's Salem. It's a colossal edifice with a crystal roof built in the shape of a huge pork kidney, containing 40,000 rooms. In the course of its extension, several buildings and monuments are demolished. Government offices are temporarily transferred to railroad sheds. Numerous houses are razed to the ground. The inhabitants are lodged in barrels and boxes, all marked in red with the letters LB. Several hoppers fall from a ladder. A part of the walls of Dublin, crowded with loyal sightseers, collapses. The sightseers, dying, morituri salutant, they die. A man in a brown Macintosh springs up through a trapdoor. He points an elongated figure at Bloom. Next.
Yeah. Do I read it now or are they doing it? I do, okay.
We're gonna stick with you there in Cleveland until
Okay.
it's all done, and then Bill's gonna tell us, or somebody's gonna tell us that you've all read, and then we'll come back to the rest of us.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Yeah. The man in the Macintosh. Don't you believe a word he says? That man is Leopold Macintosh, the notorious fire raiser. His real name is Higgins. Bloom, shoot him, dog of a Christian. So much for Macintosh. A cannon shot. The man in the Macintosh disappears. Bloom, with a scepter, strikes down poppies. The instantaneous deaths of many powerful enemies, graziers, members of parliament, members of standing committees are reported. Bloom's bodyguard distribute Maundy money, commemoration medals, loaves and fishes, temperance badges, expensive Henry Clay cigars, free cow bones for soup, rubber preservatives, in sealed envelopes tied with gold thread, butterscotch, pineapple rock, billet doux in the form of cocked hats, ready-made suits, porringers of toad in the hole, bottles of Jay's fluid, purchase stamps, 40 days indulgence, spurious coins, dairy-fed pork sausages, theater passes, season tickets available for all tram lines, coupons of the royal and privileged Hungarian lottery, penny dinner counters, cheap reprints of the world's 12 worst books, Froggy and Fritz, Politic, Care of the Baby, Infantilic, 50 meals for 7-6, Quilinic. Was Jesus a sun myth? Historic. Expel that pain, medic. Instance compendium of the universe, cosmic. Let's all chortle, Hilaric. Canvassers bade make 'em, journalic. Love letters of mother assistant, erotic. Who's who in space, asterisk. Songs that reached our heart, melodic. Pennywise's way to wealth, parsimonic. A general rush and scramble. Women press forward to touch the hem of Bloom's robe. The Lady Gwendolyn Dubedat bursts through the throng, leaps on his horse, and kisses him on both cheeks amid great acclamation. A magnesium flashlight photograph is taken. Babes and sucklings are held up. Crazy.
Hi, everybody. The women, little father, the babes and sucklings. Clap, clap hands till Poldy comes home. Cakes in his pocket for Leo alone. Bloom, bending down, pokes baby Boardman gently in the stomach. Baby Boardman hiccups, curdled milk flowing from his mouth. Ha, ja, ja, ja. Bloom, shaking hands with the blind stripling. My more than brother, placing his arms around the shoulder of an old couple. Dear old friends. He plays pussy four corners with ragged boys and girls. Peep, bo peep. He wheels twins in a perambulator. Tic-tac-toe. Would you see set a shoe? He performs juggler's trip. Draws red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet silk handkerchiefs from his mouth. Roigabit, 32 feet per second. Consoles a widow. Absence makes the heart grow younger. He dances the Highland fling with grotesque antics. Leg at you, devils. He kisses the bed sores of a falsy veteran. Honorable wounds. He trips up a fat policeman. U-P up. U-P up. He whispers in the ear of a blushing waitress and laughs kindly. Ah, naughty, naughty. He eats a raw turnip offered him by Maurice Butterly, farmer. Fine, splendid. He refuses to accept 3 shillings offered him by Joseph Hines, journalist. My dear fellow, not at all. Gives his coat to a beggar, please accept. He takes part in a stomach race with elderly male and female cripples. Come on, boys, wriggle it, girls. This citizen, choked with emotion, brushes aside a tear in his emerald muffler. May the good God bless him. Next, Jay. That is. I'm gonna move some of this stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm gonna hit this last one.
Maybe good God bless it. The ram's horn sound for silence. The standard of Zion is hoisted. Bloom uncloaks impressively, revealing obesity, unrolls a paper and reads solemnly. Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Haggadah, Tefillim, Kosher, Yom Kippur, Hanukkah, Rosh Hashanah, B'nai Brit, Bar Mitzvah, Matzah, Ashkenazim, Meshuggah, Tali. An official translation is read by Jimmy Henry, Assistant Town Clerk. Jimmy Henry, the Court of Conscience is now open. His Most Catholic Majesty will now administer open-air justice, free medical and legal advice, solution of doubles, and other problems. All cordially invited. Given at this our loyal city of Dublin in the year 1 of the paradisiacal era. Patty Leonard. What am I to do about my rates and taxes? Bloom. Pay them, my friend. Patty Leonard. Thank you. Nosy Flynn. Can I raise a mortgage on my fire insurance? Bloom. Obdurately. Sirs, take notice that by the law of torts, you are bound over in your own recognizances for 6 months in a sum of £5. J.J. O'Malloy. A Daniel, did I say? Nay, a Peter O'Brien. Nosy Flynn. Where do I draw the £5? Pisser Burke. For bladder trouble. Bloom. Acid nitrate hydrochloric diluted 20 minims. Tincture mixture balm 4 minims. Extract teraxyl 30 minims. Aqua dister in DA. Chris Callanan. What is the parallax of the subsolar ecliptic of Aldebaran?
Bloom, pleased to hear from you, Chris K. II. Joe Hines, why aren't you in uniform? Bloom, when my progenitor of sainted memory wore the uniform of the Austrian despot in a dank prison, where was yours? Ben Dollard, pansies. Bloom, embellish, beautify suburban gardens. Ben Dollard, when twins arrive. Bloom, father, pater, dad, starts thinking. Larry O'Rourke, an 8-day license for my new premises. You remember me, Sir Leo, when you were in number 7. I'm sending round a dozen of stout for the missus. Bloom, coldly, you have the advantage of me. Lady Bloom accepts no presents. Crofton, this is indeed a festivity. Bloom, solemnly, you call it a festivity. I call it a sacrament. Alexander Keys, when will we have our own house of keys? Bloom, I stand for the reform of municipal morals and the plain 10 commandments, new worlds for old, union of all, Jew, Muslim, and Gentile, 3 acres and a cow for all children of nature, saloon motor horses, compulsory manual labor for all parks open to the public, day and night, electric dish scrubbers, tuberculosis, lunacy, war, and mendicancy must now cease. General amnesty, weekly carnival with mask license, bonuses for all, Esperanto, the universal brotherhood, no more patriotism of bar spongers and dropsicle imposters, free money, free love, and a free lay church in a free lay state. Oh, Madden Burke, free fox and a free hen roost. Davy Byrne, yawning. Bloom, mixed races and mixed marriage. Lenehan, what about mixed bathing? That's all for Cleveland for now.
Okay, so Joe, we're ready.
Bloom explains to those near him His schemes for social regeneration all agree with him. The keeper of the Kildare Street Museum appears, dragging a lurry, on which are the shaking statues of several naked goddesses, Venus Callipyge, Venus Pandemus, Venus Metempsychosis, and plaster figures, also naked, representing the new 9 muses: commerce, operatic music, amour, publicity, manufacture, liberty of speech, plural voting, gastronomy, private hygiene, seaside concert entertainments, painless obstetrics, and astronomy for the people. Father Farley, he's an Episcopalian, an agnostic, and anything Arian, seeking to overthrow our holy faith. Mrs. Reardon tears up her will. I'm disappointed in you, you bad man. Mother Grogan removes her boot to throw it at Bloom. You beast, you abominable person. Nosy Flynn, give us a tune, Bloom, one of the old sweet songs. Bloom, with rollicking humour, I swore that I never would leave her. She turned out a cruel deceiver with my turlum, 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 turlum. Hoppy Holohan, good old Bloom, nobody like him after all. Paddy Leonard, stage Irishman. Bloom, what railway opera is like a tramline in Gibraltar? The Rose of Castile, laughter. Lenihan, plagiarist, down with Bloom. The Veiled Sybil, enthusiastically, I'm a Bloomite and I glory in it. I believe in him, in spite of all. I'd give my life for him, the funniest man on earth. Next, please.
Bloom winks at the bystanders. I bet she's a bonny lass. Theodore Purefoy, in fishing cap and oilskin jacket, he employs a mechanical device to frustrate the sacred ends of nature. The Veiled Sybil stabs herself. My hero God. She dies. Many most attractive and enthusiastic women also commit suicide by stabbing, drowning, drinking prussic acid, aconite, arsenic, opening their veins, refusing food, casting themselves under the steamrollers from the top of Nelson's pillow into the great vat of Guinness's brewery, asphyxiating themselves by placing their heads in gas ovens, hanging themselves in stylish garters, leaping from windows of different stories. Alexander J. Dowie. Violently, fellow Christians and anti-Bloomites, the man called Bloom is from the roots of hell, a disgrace to Christian men, a fiendish libertine from his earliest years. This stinking goat of Mendes gave precocious signs of infantile debauchery, recalling the cities of the plain with a dissolute grandam. This vile hypocrite, bronzed with infamy, is the white bull mentioned in the Apocalypse. A worshiper of the Scarlet Woman, intrigue is the very breath of his nostrils. The stake faggots and cauldrons of boiling oil are for him. Caliban. The mob. Lynch him, roast him. He's as bad as Parnell was. Mr. Fox. Mother Grogan throws her boot at Bloom. Several shopkeepers from Upper and Lower Dorset Street throw objects of little or no commercial value. Ham bones, condensed milk tins, saleable cabbage, unsaleable cabbage, stale bread, sheep's tails, odd pieces of fat. Bloom, excitedly, this is midsummer madness, some ghastly joke again. By heaven, I am guiltless as the unsunned snow. It was my brother Henry. He is my double. He lives in number 2 Dolphin's Barn. Slander, the viper, has wrongfully accused me. Fellow countrymen, garbled Irish. I call on my old friend, Dr. Malcolm Mulligan, sex specialist, to give medical testimony on my behalf. Next, please.
Okay. Dr. Mulligan in motor jenkin, green motor goggles on his brow. Dr. Bloom is bisexually abnormal. He has recently escaped from Dr. Eustace's private asylum for demented gentlemen. Born out of wedlock, hereditary epilepsy is present, the consequences of unbridled lust. Traces of elephantiasis has been discovered among his descendants. There are marked symptoms of chronic exhibitionism. Ambidexity is also latent. He is prematurely bald from self-abuse, perversely idealistic in consequence, a reformed rake, and has metal teeth. In consequence of a family complex, he has temporarily lost his memory, and I believe him to be more sinned against than sinning. I have made a per-vaginal examination, and after application of the acid test to 5427 anal, axillary, pectoral, and pubic hairs, I declare him to be vertio intacta. Bloom holds his high-grade hat over his genital organs. Dr. Madden, hypsiptorhabdoria is also marked. In the interest of coming generations, I suggest that the parts affected should be preserved in spirits of wine in the National Teratological Museum. Dr. Crotiers, I have examined the patient's urine. It is albuminoid. Salvation is insufficient. The Pietrix reflex is intermittent. Dr. Punch Costello, the feature judiaceus is most perceptible. Dr. Dixon reads a bill of health. Professor Bloom is a finished example of the new womanly man. Next, please.
His moral nature is simple and lovable. Many have found him a dear man, a dear person. He is a rather quaint fellow on the whole, coy, though not feeble-minded in the medical sense. He has written a really beautiful letter, a poem in itself, to the court missionary of the Reformed Priests Protection Society, which clears up everything. He is practically a total abstainer, and I can affirm that he sleeps on a straw litter and eats the most Spartan food, cold, dried grocer's peas. He wears a hair shirt winter and summer and scourges himself every Saturday. He was, I understand, at one time a first-class misdemeanant in Glencree Reformatory. Another report states that he was a very posthumous child. I appeal for clemency in the name of the most sacred word our vocal organs have ever been called upon to speak. He is about to have a baby. General commotion and compassion. Women faint. A wealthy American makes a street collection for Bloom. Gold and silver coins, blank checks, banknotes, jewels, treasury, bonds, maturing bills of exchange, IOUs, wedding rings, watch chains, lockets, necklaces, and bracelets are rapidly collected. Next, please.
Bloom. Oh, I so want to be a mother. Mrs. Thornton, in Nurse Tender's gown. Embrace me tight, dear. You'll be over it soon. Tight, dear. Bloom embraces her tightly and bears 8 male, yellow, and white children. They appear on a red carpet staircase adorned with expensive plants. All the octuplets are handsome, with valuable metallic faces, well-made, respectably dressed, and well-conducted, speaking 5 modern languages fluently, and interested in various arts and sciences. Each has his name printed in legible letters on his shirt front. Nazadora, Goldfinger, Chrysostomus, Mandore, Silver Smile, Silver, Vifargent, Panargyrus. They are immediately appointed to positions of high public trust in several different countries as managing directors of banks, traffic managers of railways, chairman of limited liability companies, vice chairman of hotel syndicates. A voice. Bloom, are you the Messiah Ben Joseph or Ben David? Bloom, darkly, you have said it. Brother Buzz, then perform a miracle like Father Charles. Bantam Lions, prophecy, who will win the Saint Leger? Bloom walks on a net, covers his left eye, and with his left ear passes through several walls, climbs Nelson's pillar, hangs from the top ledge by his eyelids, eats 12 dozen oysters, shells included, heals several sufferers from the king's evil, contracts his face so as to resemble many historical personages: Lord Beaconsfield, Lord Byron, Wat Taylor, Moses of Egypt, Moses Maimonides, Moses Mendelssohn, Henry Irving, Rip Van Winkle, Kossuth, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Baron Leopold Rothschild, Robinson Crusoe, Sherlock Holmes, Pasteur, turns each foot simultaneously in different directions, bids the tide turn back, eclipses the sun by extending his little finger. Next.
Greeny, papal nuncio, in papal Zouave's uniform, steel cuirasses as breastplate, arm plates, thigh plates, leg plates, large profane moustache, and brown paper mitre. Leopold, autumn general Atio. Moses begat Noah, and Noah begat Enoch. Enoch begat O'Halloran. O'Halloran begat Guggenheim, and Guggenheim begat Agendat. Agendat begat Netium, and Netium begat Lehirsch, and Lehirsch begat Jesrum, and Jesrum begat Mackay. Mackay begat Ostrobloxsky, and Ostrobloxsky begat Smerders, and Smerders begat Weiss, and Weiss begat Schwartz, and Schwartz begat Adrian Apollo, and Adrian Apollo begat Arianus, and Arianus begat Louis Lawson, and Louis Lawson begat Ichabod Dinosaur, and Ichabod Dinosaur begat O'Donnell Magnus, and O'Donnell Magnus begat Christbaum, and Christbaum begat Ben Mamo, and Ben Mamo begat Dusty Rhodes, and Dusty Rhodes begat Ben Amour, and Ben Amour begat Joan Smith, and Joan Smith begat Savor Nanovich, and Savor Nanovich begat Jasper Stone, and Jasper Stone begat Vinton Urine, and Vinton Urine begat Zombathly, and Zombathly begat Virage, and Virage begat Bloom, et vocabitur nomen is Emmanuel. A dead hand writes on wall. Bloom is a cod, a crab. In Bushranger's kit, what did you do in the cattle creep behind Kilbarrack? A female infant shakes a rattle. And under Ballybock Bridge too, a hollybush. And in the Devil's Glen, Bloom blushes furiously all over from front to nates, 3 tears falling from his left eye. Spare my past. The Irish evicted tenants in body coats, knee breeches, with Donnybrook fair shillelaghs, sambok him. Bloom with ass's ears seats himself in a pillory with crossed arms, his feet protruding. He whistles Don Giovanni, a sinner Tico, arcane orphans, joining hands caper around him. Girls of the prison gate mission, joining hands caper in the opposite direction. The arcane orphans, you hig, you hog, you dirty dog, you think the ladies love you. The prison gate girls. If you see K, tell him he may. See him in Tay, tell him from me. Hornblower in ephod and hunting cap announces. And he shall carry the sins of the people to Azaliel, the spirit which is in the wilderness, and to Lilith, the night hag. And they shall stone him and defile him. Yea, all from Agendat, Netium, and from Mizraim, the land of Ham. Next, please.
All the people cast pantomime stones at Bloom. Many bona fide travelers and ownerless dogs come near him and defile him. Mastiansky and Citron approaching gabardines wearing long earlocks. They wag their beards at Bloom. Mastiansky and Citron. Belia, le ram of Istria, the false Messiah, Abulafia. George S. Messias, Bloom's tailor appears. A tailor's goose under his arm, presenting a bill. Messias. 2 alteration, 1 pair of trousers, 11 shillings. Bloom rubs his hand cheerfully. Oh, just like old times. Poor Bloom. Reuben J. Dodd, black-bearded Iscariot. Bad shepherd, bearing on his shoulders the drowned corpse of his son, approaches the pillory. Reuben J. whispers hoarsely, "The squeak is out." A split is gone for the flatties. Nip the first rattler. The fire brigade. Flap. Brother Buzz, invest Bloom in a yellow habit with embroidery of painted flames and high pointed hat. He places a bag of gunpowder around his neck and hands him over to the civil power, saying, forgive him his trespasses. Lieutenant Myers of the Dublin Fire Brigade, by general request, sets fire to Bloom. Lamentations, the citizen, thank heaven. Bloom, in seamless garment, marked IHS, stands upright in phoenix flames. Weep not for me, O daughters of Erin. He exhibits to Dublin reporters traces of burning. The daughters of Erin in black garments with large prayer books and long lighted candles in their hands kneel down and pray. Cleveland.
Unmute.
Yes.
Sorry about that. The daughters of Erin, kidney of Bloom, pray for us. Flower of the bath, pray for us. Mentor of Menton, pray for us. Canvasser for the freeman. Charitable mason. Wandering soap. Sweets of sin. Music without words. Reprover of the citizen. Friends of all frillies. Midwife most merciful. Potato preservative against plague and pestilence. A choir of 600 voices, conducted by Vincent O'Brien, sings the chorus from Handel's Messiah, Alleluia, for the Lord God omnipotent reigneth, accompanied on the organ by Joseph Glynn. Bloom becomes mute, shrunken, carbonized. Zoe, talk away till you're black in the face. Bloom, in Cobean with clay pipe stuck in the band, dusty brogues, and emigrant's red handkerchief bundle in his hand, leading a black bog oak pig by a sugon with a smile in his eye. Let me be going now, woman of the house, for by all the goats in Connemara, I'm after having the father and mother of a baiting, with a tear in his eye, all insanity, patriotism, sorrow for the dead, music, future of the race, to be or not to be. Life's dream is o'er, end it peaceably. They can live on. He gazes far away mournfully. I am ruined. A few pastilles of aconite, the blinds drawn, a letter, then lie back to rest. He breathes softly, no more, I have lived, farewell. Zoe stiffly, her finger in her neck billet. Honest, till the next time, she sneers. Suppose you got up the wrong side of the bed or came too quick with your best girl. Oh, I can read your thoughts. Bloom bitterly, man and woman love, what is it? A cork and bottle, I'm sick of it. Let everything rip. Next, please.
Zoe, in sunken sulks. I hate a rotter that's insincere. Give a bleeding whore a chance. Bloom, repentantly. I am very disagreeable. You are a necessary evil. Where are you from? London? Zoe, glibly. Hobbs Norton, where the pigs plays the organs. I'm Yorkshire born. She holds his hand, which is feeling for her nipple. I say, Tommy Tittlemouse, stop that and begin worse. Have you cash for a short time? 10 shillings? Bloom. Smiles and nods slowly. More, Ori, more. And Zoe. And more's mother? She pats him offhandedly with velvet paws. Are you coming into the music room to see our new pianola? Come, I'll peel off. Bloom, feeling his occupant dubiously with the unparalleled embarrassment of a harassed peddler gauging the symmetry of her peeled pears. Some of them would be dreadfully jealous if she knew. The green-eyed monster, earnestly. You know how difficult it is. I needn't tell you. Zoe is flattered. What the eye can't see, the heart can't grieve for. She pats him. Come. Bloom, laughing, which the hand that rocks the cradle. Zoe, baby. Bloom in baby linen and pelisse, big-headed with a cock of dark hair, fixes big eyes on her fluid slip and counts its bronze buckles with a chubby finger, his moist tongue lolling and lisping. 1, 2, D, D, 2, dong. The buckles, love me not, love me. Zoe, silent means consent. With little parted talons, she captures his hand, her forefinger giving to his palm the past touch of secret monitor, luring him to doom. Hot hands, cold gizzard. He hesitates amid sense, music, temptations. She leads him towards the steps, drawing him by the odor of her armpits, the vice of her painted eyes, the rustle of her slip, in whose sinuous folds lurks the lion reek of all the male brutes that have possessed her. Next. Why do I always
The male brutes, exhaling sulfur of rut and dung and ramping in their loose spots, faintly roaring, their drugged heads swaying to and fro. Good. Zoe and Bloom reach the doorway where two sister whores are seated. They examine him curiously from under their penciled brows and smile to his hasty bow. He trips awkwardly. Zoe, her lucky hand instantly saving him. Hoopsa! Don't fall upstairs. Bloom, the just man falls 7 times. He stands aside at the threshold. After you is good manners. Zoe, ladies first, gentlemen after. She crosses the threshold. He hesitates. She turns and, holding out her hands, draws him over. He hops. On the antlered rack of the hall hang a man's hat and waterproof. Bloom uncovers himself, but, seeing them, frowns, then smiles, preoccupied. A door on the return landing is thrown open. A man in purple shirt and gray trousers, brown socked, passes with an ape's gait, his bald head and goatee beard upheld, hugging a full water jug jar, his 2-tailed black braces dangling at heels. Averting his face quickly, Bloom bends to examine on the hall table the spaniel's eyes of a running fox. Then, his lifted head sniffing, follows Zoe into the music room. A shade of mauve tissue paper dims the light of the chandelier. Round and round a moth flies, colliding, escaping. The floor is covered with an oilcloth mosaic of jade and azure and cinnabar rhomboids. Footmarks are stamped over it in all senses, heel to heel, heel to hollow, toe to toe, feet locked. A morris of shuffling feet without body phantoms, all in a scrimmage, higgledy-piggledy, I'm going to do this, higgledy-piggledy. The walls are tapestried with a paper of yew fronds and clear glades. In the grate is spread a screen of peacock feathers. Lynch squats cross-legged on the hearthrug of matted hair, his cap back to the front. With a wand, he beats time slowly. Kitty Ricketts, a bony, pallid whore in navy costume, doe-skin gloves rolled back from a coral wristlet, a chain purse in her hand, sits perched on the edge of the table, swinging her leg and glancing at herself in the gilt mirror over the mantelpiece. A tag of her corset lace hangs slightly below her jacket. Lynch indicates mockingly the couple at the piano. Kitty coughs behind her hand. She's a bit imbecilic. She signs with a waggling forefinger. Blam, blam. Lynch lifts up her skirt and white petticoat with the wand. She settles them down quickly. Respect yourself. She hiccups, then bends quickly, her sailor hat under which her hair glows, red with henna. Oh, excuse.
Zoe. Mortal, I'm like Charlie. She goes to the chandelier and turns the gas full cock. Kitty peers at the gas jet. What ails it tonight? Lynch, deeply. Inner ghost and hobgoblins. Zoe, clap on the back for Zoe. The wand in Lynch's hand flashes, a brass poker. Stephen stares at the pianola on which sprawl his hat and ash plant. With 2 fingers, he repeats once more the series of empty fists. Florrie Talbot, a blonde, feeble goose-fat whore in a tattered mammalian gown of mildewed strawberry, lolls spread eagle in the sofa corner, her limp forearm pinned over the bolster, listening. A heavy sigh droops over her sleepy eyelid. Kitty hiccups again with a kick of her horse foot. Oh, excuse me. Promptly, Zoe, promptly, your boy's thinking of you. Tie a knot on your shift. Kitty Rickett bends her head. Her boa uncoils, glides over her shoulder, back, arm, chair to the ground. Lynch lifts the curled caterpillar on his wand. She snakes her neck, nestling. Stephen glances behind at the squatted figure with its cap back to the front. Stephen, as a matter of fact, it is of no importance whether Benedetto Marcello found it or made it. The right is a poet's rest. It may be an old hymn to Demeter, or also illustrates Caela Anarent Gloriam Domini. It is susceptible of nodes or modes as far apart as Hyperphrygian and Mixolydian, in a text so divergent as priest high hooping around David's, that it is Circe's, or what am I saying? Ceres' altar and David's tip from the stable to his chief bassoonist about his almightiness. Mais nom de gnome. That is another pair of trousers. Jetez la gourmet. Faut que jeunesse se passe. He stops, points at Lynch's cap, smiles, laugh. Which side is your knowledge from? I'll take it.
Yeah. The cat with saturnine sling. Bah, it is because it is. Woman's reason. Jew Greek is Greek Jew. Extremes need. Death is the highest form of life. Bah. Stephen, you remember fairly accurately all my errors, boasts, mistakes. How long shall I continue to close my eyes to disloyalty? Whetstone, the cat. Bah. Stephen, here's another for you, he frowns. The reason is because the fundamental and the dominant are separated by the greatest possible interval, which the cat, which, finish, you can't. Stephen with an effort. Interval, which is the greatest possible ellipse, consistent with the ultimate return. The octave, which, the cap, which, outside the gramophone begins to blare the holy city. Stephen abruptly. What went forth to the ends of the world to traverse not itself? God, the sun, Shakespeare, a commercial traveler. Having itself traversed in reality itself becomes that self. Wait a moment, wait a second. Damn that fellow's noise in the street. Self, which it itself was ineluctably preconditioned to become. Echo. Lynch, with a mocking whinny of laughter, grins at Bloom and Zoe Higgins. What a learned speech, eh? Zoe briskly. God help your head, he knows more than you have forgotten. With obese stupidity, Florrie Talbot regards Stephen.
Florrie, they say the last day is coming this summer. Kitty, no. Zoe explodes with laughter. Great unjust God. Florrie, offended. Well, it was in the papers about Antichrist. Oh, my foot's tickling. Ragged, barefoot newsboys jogging wagtail kite patter past, yelling, the newsboys. Stop press edition. Result of the rocking horse races. See serpent in the royal canal. Safe arrival of Antichrist. Stephen turns and sees Bloom. Stephen. A time, times, and half a time. Reuben J. Antichrist, wandering Jew, clutching hand open on his spine, stumps forward. Across his loins is slung a pilgrim's wallet, from which protrude a promissory notes and dishonored bills. Aloft over his shoulder, he bears a long boat pole, from the crook of which the sodden, huddled mass of his only son, saved from Liffey waters, hangs by the slack of its breeches. A hobgoblin in the image of Punch Costello, hip-shot, crookback, hydrocephalic, prognathic with receding forehead and alley sloper nose, rambles in somersaults through the gathering darkness. All, what? The hobgoblin, his jaws chattering, capers to and fro, goggling his eyes, squeaking, kangaroo hopping with outstretched clutching arms, then all at once thrusts his lipless face through the fork of his thighs. Il vient. C'est moi. L'homme qui rit, l'homme primigène. He whirls round and round with dervish howls. Sieurs et dames, faites vos jeux. He crouches, juggling. Tiny roulette planets fly from his hands. Les jeux sont faits. The planets rush together, uttering crepitant cracks. Rien va plus. The planets, buoyant balloons, sail swollen up and away. He springs off into vacuum. Glory, striking into torpor, crosses herself secretly. The end of the world. A female tepid effluvium leaks out from her. Nebulous obscurity occupies space. Through the drifting fog without the gramophone blares over coughs and feet shuffling. The gramophone. Jerusalem, open your gates and sing, Hosanna. A rocket rushes up the sky and bursts. A white star falls from it, proclaiming the consummation of all things and second coming of Elijah. Along an infant invisible tightrope taut from zenith to nadir, the end of the world, a two-headed octopus in ghillies kilts, busby and tartan filibegs, whirls through the murk, head over heels, in the form of the three legs of man, the end of the world, with a Scotch accent. Oh, that's the keel row, the keel row, the keel row. Over the passing drift and choking break coughs, Elijah's voice, harsh as a corncrake's, jars on high. Perspiring in a loose brown surplice with funnel sleeves, he is seen, verger-faced, above a rostrum, about which the banner of Old Glory is draped. He thumps the parapet. Next.
Elijah, no yapping, if you please, in this booth. Jake Crane, Creole Sue, Dove Campbell, Abby Kishner, do your coughing with your mouth shut. Say, I am operating all this trunk line. Boys, do it now. God's time is 12:25. Tell mother you'll be here. You'll be there. Rush your order and play a slick ace. Join on right here. Book through to Eternity Junction, the non-stop run. Just one word more. Are you a god or a godden clog? If the second advent came to Coney Island, are you ready? Florrie, Christ, Stephen Christ, Zoe Christ, Bloom Christ, Kitty Christ, Lynch Christ. It's up to you to sense that cosmic force. Have we cold feet about the cosmos? No. Be on the side of the angels. Be a prism. You have that something within, the higher self. You can rub shoulders with Jesus, a Gautama, an Ingersoll. Are you all in this vibration? I say you are. You once nobbled that congregation, and a book, Joyride to Heaven, becomes a back number. You got me? It's a life brightener. Sure, the hottest stuff ever was. It's a whole pie with jam in it. It's just the cutest, snappiest line out. It's immense, super sumptuous, it restores, it vibrates. I know, and I'm some vibrator. Joking apart, getting down to bedrock. AJ Christ Doy and a harmonial philosophy. Have you got that? Okay. 77 West 69th Street. Got me? That's it. You call me up by sun phone any old time. Bomboozers, save your stamps, he shouts. Now then, our glory song. All join heartily in singing. Encore, he sings. Chair. Next.
The gramophone drowning his voice. The disc rasps gratingly against the needle. The three hers, covering their ears, squawk, ah! Elijah, in rolled-up shirt sleeves, black in the face, shouts at the top of his voice, his arms uplifted. Big brother up there, Mr. President, you hear what I just been saying to you. Certainly, I sort of believe strong in you, Mr. President. I certainly am thinking now Miss Higgins and Miss Ricketts got religion way inside them. Certainly seems to me I don't never see no wizard sayer female than the way you been, Miss Flurry, just now as I seed you. Mr. President, you come along and help me save our sisters dear. He winks at his audience. Ah, Mr. President, he twigged the whole lot and he ain't saying nothing. Kitty Kate, I forgot myself. In a weak moment I erred and did what I did on Constitution Hill. I was confirmed by the bishop. My mother's sister married Montmorency. It was a working plumber was my ruination when I was pure. Zoe Fanny, I'll have narrowed it into me for the fun of it. Florrie Teresa, it was in consequence of a port wine beverage on top of Hennessy's 3 stars. I was guilty with Whelan when he slipped into the bed. Stephen, in the beginning was the Word, in the end, the world without end. Blessed be the 8 Beatitudes. The Beatitudes, Dixon, Madden, Crothers, Costello, Lenihan, Bannon, Mulligan, and Lynch in white surgical surgeons' students' gowns, 4 abreast, goose-stepping, tramp fast past in noisy marching. The Beatitudes incoherently, beer, beef, battle dog, Bible, Bisenum, Barnum, Buggerum, Bishop. Leicester in Quaker grey, Nick deep breeches and broad-brimmed hat, says discreetly, he's our friend. I need not mention names. Seek thou the light. He carontos by. Best enters in hairdresser's attire, shinily laundered, his locks in pearl papers. He leads John Eglinton, who wears a mandarin's kimono of nankeen yellow, lizard lettered, and the high pagoda hat. Katrina.
Best, smiling, lifts the hat and displays a shaven poll from the crown of which bristles a pigtail toupee tied with an orange topknot. I was just beautifying him, don't you know? A thing of beauty, don't you know? Keats says. John Eglinton produces a green capped dark lantern and flashes it towards the corner with carping accent. Aesthetics and cosmetics are for the boudoir. I'm out for truth, plain truth for a plain man. Tandaragi wants facts and means to get them. In the cone of the searchlight behind the coal scuttle, Olav, holy-eyed, with bearded figure of Manon McClare broods, chin on knees. He rises slowly. A cold sea wind blows from his druid mouth. About his head writhe eels and elvers. He is encrusted with weeds and shells. His right hand holds a bicycle pump. His left hand grasps a huge crayfish by its two talons. Manon McClear, with a voice of waves, Aum, Hek, Wal, Ak, Lub, Mur, Ma, white yoken of the gods, occult pomander of Hermes Trismegistos, with a voice of whistling sea wind, Punjaram Patsud Punjab. I won't have my leg pulled. It's been said by one, beware the left, the cult of Shakti, with a cry of Stormburns, Shakti Shiva, dark hidden father. He smites with his bicycle pump the crayfish in his left hand. On its cooperative dial glow the 12 signs of the zodiac. He wails with vehemence of the ocean. Baum, Pajam, I am the light of the homestead. I am the dreamery, creamery butter. Skeleton Judah's hand strangles the light. A green light wanes to mauve. The gas jet wails whistling. A gas jet. Zoe runs to the chandelier and, crooked on her leg, adjusts the mantle. Zoe, who has a fag? Who has a fag as I'm here? Lynch, tossing a cigarette onto the table. Here. Zoe, her head perched aside in mock pride. Is that the way to hand the pot to a lady? She stretches up to light the cigarette over the flame, twirling it slowly, showing the round tufts of her armpits. Lynch, with his poker, lifts boldly the side of her slip. Bare from her garters, up her flesh appears under the sapphire a Nixie's green. She puffs calmly at her cigarette. Can you see the beauty spot on my behind? Next, please.
Lynch, I'm not looking. Zoe makes sheep's eyes. No, you wouldn't do a less thing. Would you suck a lemon? Squinting in mock shame, she glances with sidelong meaning at Bloom, then twists round towards him, pulling her slip free of the poker. Blue fluid against flows over her flesh. Bloom stands, smiling desirously, twirling his thumb desirously. Kitty Ricketts licking her middle finger with her spittle and gazing in the mirror, smooths both eyebrows. Niboti Varag, Basit Gramante, shoots rapidly down through the chimney flue and struts 2 steps to the left on gawky pink stilts. He is sausaged into several overcoats and wearing a brown mackintosh, under which he holds a roll of parchment. In his left eye flashes the monocle of Cashel Boyle O'Connor Fitzmaurice Tyndall Farr. On his head is perched an Egyptian svelte. 2 quills project over his ears. Varag, heels together, bows. My name is Varag Libotti of Zumbatley. He coughs thoughtfully, dryly, promiscuous nakedness is much in evidence hereabouts here. Inadvertently, her back view revealed the fact that she is not wearing those rather intimate garments of which you are a particular devotee. The injection mark on the tie. I hope you perceived. Good. Next, please.
Grandpapachi, but Virag. Number 2, on the other hand, she of the cherry rouge and the confused white, whose hair owes not a little to our tribal elixir of gopher wood, is in walking costume and tightly stazed by her sit. I should opine. Backbone in front, so to say. Correct me, but I always understood that the act so performed by skittish humans with glimpses of lingerie appealed to you in virtue of the exhibitionisticity, in a word, hippogriff. Am I right? Bloom. She is rather lean. Next, please.
Virag, not unpleasantly, absolutely well deserved in those pannier pockets of the skirt and slightly peg-top effect are devised to suggest bunchiness of hip. A new purchase at some monstrous sale for which a gull has been mulcted. Meretricious finery to deceive the eye. Observe the attention to details of dust specks. Never put on you tomorrow what you can wear today. Parallax with a nervous twitch of his head. Did you hear my brain go snap? Polysyllabics? Bloom, an elbow resting in a hand, a forefinger against his cheek. She seems sad. Virov, cynically, his weasel teeth bared yellow, draws down his left eye with a finger and barks hoarsely. Hoax! Beware of the flapper and bogus mournful. Lily of the alley. All possess bachelor's buttons discovered by Rualdus Columbus. Tumbler. Columbler. Chameleon. More genially. Well then, permit me to draw your attention to item number 3. There is plenty of her visible to the naked eye. Observe the mass of oxygenated vegetable matter on her skull. What ho! She bumps, the ugly duckling of the party, long casted and deep in keel. Bloom, regretfully. When you come out without your gun, Virag, we can do all brands, mild, medium, and strong. Pay your money, take your choice. How happy could you be with either? Bloom, with Virag, his tongue up curly. Lion, look, her beam is broad. She is coated with quite a considerable layer of fat. Obviously, mammal in weight of bosom. You remark that she has in front, well to the fore, 2 protuberances of very respectable dimensions, inclined to fall in the noonday soup plate, while on her rear lower down are 2 additional protuberances, suggestive of potent rectum and tumescent for palpation, which leave nothing to be desired save compactness. Such fleshy parts are the product of careful nurture. When coop fattened, their livers reach an elephantine size. Pellets of a new breed, bred with fenugreek and gum benjamin, swamped down by portions of green tea, endow them during their brief existence with natural pincushions of quite colossal blubber. That suits your book, eh? Flesh hot pots of Egypt to hanker after, wallow in it, lycopodium. His throat twitches. Slap bang! There he goes again. Next.
Bloom, the style I dislike. Virage, after his eyebrow. Contact with a gold ring, they say. Argumentum ad femininum, as we said in old Rome and ancient Greek in the consulship of Diplodocus and Tyrannosaurus. For the sake of Eve's sovereign remedy, not for sale, hire only. Huguenot, he twitches. In a funny sound, he coughs encouragingly, but possibly it is only a wart. I presume you shall have remembered what I have taught you on that head. Wheat and meal with honey and nutmeg. Bloom, reflecting. Wheat and meal with lycopodium and syllabax. This searching ordeal. It has been an unusually fatiguing day, a chapter of accidents. Wait, I mean wart's blood, spreads warts, you said. Virag, severely his nose hard lumped, his side eye winking. Stop twirling your thumbs and have a good old thunk. See what you have forgotten. Exercise your mnemonic technique. La cosa e santa, tara tara aside, he will surely remember. Bloom, Rosemary. Also, did I understand you to say our willpower over parasitic tissues? Then nay, no, I have no inkling. The touch of a dead hand cures. Memo. Virage, excitedly. I say so. And so, technique. He tapped his parts menstrual energetically. The book tells you how to act with all descriptive particulars. Consult index for agitated fear of aconite, melancholy of moriatic, priapic, pulsatilla. Virag is going to talk about amputation. Our old friend Caustic, they must be starved. Snip off with horsehair under the den neck, but to change the venue of the Bulgar and the Basque. Have you made up your minds whether you like or dislike women in male habiliments? With a dry snigger. You intended to devote an entire year to the study of the religious problem and the summer months of 1882 to square the circle and win that million pomegranate. From the sublime to the ridiculous is but a step. Pajamas, let us say, or stockingette, gusseted knickers closed, or push we the case, those complicated combinations, cami knickers, he crows derisively. Key. Bloom surveys uncertainly the three whores, then gazes at the veiled mauve light, hearing the ever-flying moth. So next.
Duncan, you're on mute.
Good about that. Okay, there we go. You can hear me. I think we'll stop here.
Okay.
It's 2:15 now. We have some time for a little chat about this. And also, this is kind of a good place to stop before we've gotten to one of the most dramatic parts. And I really hate to stop in the middle of a really dramatic part. And this is just moderately dramatic. So if you don't mind, let me get Wordsworth page, please. Where are we?
452.
452. Okay. Gabler.
420.
And Bodley Head, I'm the same.
Okay. Great. Okay. Other additions that I need to make note of?
The Long Penguin is 631.
Penguin Long 631.
Bless you.
Zunheim.
Exactly.
Zunheim. All right. Would anyone like to make an observation or a comment on what we've read?
Let me point out, if you haven't seen it before, on page 438 in Wordsworth, the Prison Gate Girls, Joyce really slips in something there in that poem.
Yes, the first
Consider
line.
that they're letters of the alphabet and not words. It's F-U-C-K.
Mm-hmm.
Tell her he may, and then it's C-U-N-T.
Oh.
Tell him from me. It was probably 20 or 30 read through before I noticed that. I mean, you just by it when you're reading this chapter in particular, you go by it so quickly, it doesn't sink in. But I roared when I saw it the first time.
Yeah. I got the first line today, but I didn't see the third line. But yeah.
Where's that? Could you say that again?
It's a poem by the Prison Gate.
Connection to words. Oh, that one. Okay, yeah. Okay, now that I see that, then tell me your observation again.
What's the page?
They're letters. They're not words. They're letters. F-U-C-K.
Oh.
F-U-C-K.
C-U-N-T.
In the poem?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The pronunciation of the letters, F-U-C-K.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
C-U-N-T.
When
I have a different edition from it.
Yeah.
That's very well spotted.
Actually, when I first came to university in Austin, Texas, there was a humor magazine, and the people who ran the humor magazine put that in, one of these things where you have tons of letters, and they embedded F-U-C-K in there, and the university got so upset they closed the magazine, and everybody involved was kicked out of university for a semester.
Oh my God.
Oh my
That
God.
was in 1962.
I'm convinced that after the trial for obscenity, that Joyce decided I'm going to put in things that they won't see, but that are worse than anything they think I've said.
Uh-huh.
And he did.
Yeah.
Speaking there of CUNT, a joke among some of my colleagues is like at a long week, after a long weekend, say to your boss, see you next Tuesday.
There we go.
Spears. She's got to sing a song. So I'm just Googling that there. Britney Spears apparently has a song, If You Seek Amy. So if you seek Amy's ancestors, Britney Spears didn't invent the dirty pun in her new song title. She stole it from Joyce and Shakespeare. So that was back in 2009.
There you go.
There
At
you
least
go.
she stole
I never thought we'd talk about Britney Spears and James Joyce in the conversation.
I really like this, when we first started reading today, and we had, Bloom as politician, as effective politician, which I think was kind of, my understanding of Bloom's character. This was actually his secret ambition, was to be a dispenser of justice. And,
Yeah, I just picked right after if you see K.
Yeah.
Oh, that's subtle. Not like what I read when I'm with you.
And is Bloom, or am I imagining it? Is Bloom descendant from Moses?
No.
You know, do you know when he
All
starts?
those begats.
Moses begot Noah, Noah begot Unity, begot,
Oh.
and then it stops at Bloom. So Bloom is a descendant from Moses.
In a manner of speaking, yes.
Exactly.
For those who also read Finnegan's Wake, did you not sense that all of Bloom the politician, early HCE?
Sorry, Duncan, you broke up a bit there. Can you say again?
Yeah.
So what I suspected was, you have, can you hear me okay now? Okay. You know what I'm gonna do? They're having a chat, so I'm gonna do this. Because I can do
such power.
I know.
Exactly,
I try to restrain myself.
Use it well.
No point in having it unless you use it.
Yeah, it's more effective the less I use it, but I do feel it needs to be used. I feel this whole thing in this first part that we read, we have all this stuff with Bloom, the politician, and he's being so good in responding to all the various people with the right politician's touch and all that sort of thing. And then all of a sudden there's the switch where he starts being denounced. And this is like, to me, this is early HCE. This is foreshadowing HCE, because this is HCE does the same thing. He has this thing about how he's the man of the people and he's leading the nation and all that. And then there's a rebellion against him. So.
What do you say, Joe?
You'll have to unmute, Joe.
What do I say to what?
Oh, he's wondering how you would respond to my statement.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yeah, I think so. You know, I'm not as familiar with the wake as the most people seem to be, but yeah, I remember that aspect of it. All right, yeah, for sure, early version.
Yeah, I think both HCE and Bloom have this thing of where they have certain moments where they have supreme confidence. I mean, they know that there can be good people and are good people, but then you know, they reach a certain pinnacle and then they start being denounced.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that in there. Any comments about the 12 worst books on page 430?
Oh, what is it in my? Where's the 12?
Oh, it's what line is it on? If you go to 430, it's actually almost right in the middle of the page. The cheap reprints of the world's 12 worst books. Froggy and Fritz, Politics. Care of Baby, Infantilic. Blah, blah, blah. Was Jesus a sun myth? Historic.
I like the parsimonic one, something about living cheaply. I don't have it in front of me. The last one was How to Live Cheaply, and it's called Parsimonic, as in parsimonious.
Mm-hmm.
Froggy and Fritz, the French and Germans.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What line is it? Has anybody got lines?
It's almost, and you're, okay, so it's in the italics. Okay, you see all the italic stuff? And in the italic stuff, it is it's more than halfway down the italic stuff. Let's see, you're in Bodley?
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. Unfortunately, I don't have my gabblers, but you know.
It's line
Lois has
1578. 1578.
Oh, 50. Yeah, I've got lines.
1578.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, it looks like the Cleveland group has departed.
Oh.
Oh.
Was it something we said?
Yeah, they didn't say anything.
No, I don't
We
think so.
did.
They could have said a lot, but we wouldn't have heard it.
Yeah, no, I think probably they just realized that it would have been difficult for them to participate in the conversation because there were so many. And
They were having their own conversation.
They were having their own conversation, and they have two out of town visitors, so they got
That was fun.
other fish to fry, as they say.
If they were in Sweeney, they'd have all gone to the pub to continue their discussion.
Yeah,
Maybe they
so
did.
They're doing the Cleveland version of that.
Of Kennedy's.
Uh-huh. And I know that Bill knows how to unmute. So
Those books seem to be all fictitious or apparently fictitious. There's suggestions it might be this book or that, but they're all Froggy and Fritz is just described as apparently fictitious. There's nothing else. Care of the Baby, perhaps The Care of the Baby, 1895 by J.P. Crozier, numerous reprints. So it's, but there's none of them an actual book that you could sort of say that's such and such a book.
Right.
Who's Who in Space sounds like the world's shortest book.
That's true.
Funny enough, there is nowadays such a book.
Well,
a biography listing all astronauts and cosmonauts.
Mhm.
But I'm sure Joyce didn't have a copy of it. Very sure. Probably inspired by Ulysses, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was amazed at the number of mentions of homeopathic remedies in here. And I had not noticed before that apparently Virag, Bloom's father, had schooled him, according to this, had schooled him in homeopathic knowledge. Because in this he was testing him to see what he remembered and what we read today.
Mm.
Mm.
On page 4, sorry, Joe.
Go ahead, Orla.
No, you go ahead, Joe.
No, go on. Doesn't matter.
No, because I was moving on to page 448. A thing of beauty, don't you know? Yeats says, or I mean, Keats said.
Yeah.
And
That's
is that like a terrible beauty is born? You know, didn't Yeats say that?
The thing of
Yeah.
beauty is the
Yes,
joy
yes,
for
yes,
everyone.
it said that.
Yeah, it's
But that's
1960.
Yeah.
that's the thing Best would never have said. You see,
Yeah.
Best was opposed to Yeats, so to sort of, it's a Freudian slip, I suppose. A Freudian slip within a hallucination.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Well, I was going to say, the key to understanding this, I think, for what it's worth, if we're in Wordsworth, page 424, Zoe says, go on, make a stump speech out of it.
Mhm.
Then we get all this. It's the next time she speaks is 16 pages later. Talk away till you're black in the face. You see?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
this shows you that he's muttering to himself at the hallucination.
Yeah.
And it's an instantaneous encounter with his subconscious. This is all hallucinatory. You see, so 2 or 3 seconds later, and he's probably been wandering through nighttime, muttering to himself. But wouldn't seem totally out of place since everyone else seems to be as odd as they come. But I think that's it. That once you see that, you realize, wait a minute, it took us to an hour to read that. But it all takes place in a second or two, or perhaps maybe she stuck it for 10 seconds, But it's that aspect of, we discussed last week whether it was fantasy or hallucination. Hugely important difference. There's Gary Owen.
That Gary Owen that I'm hearing there.
That's Paddy Dignam calling us. But it's like if it's a fantasy, it's conscious. Like, we could all fantasize about winning the lottery. Oh, I'd buy a big car. Who would I give money to? That you have control over. Stop your fantasy, But hallucination, you've no control over. It's the subconscious. You have no access to it. You just suffer it.
Just
So,
takes over. That is so plain as day now that you've pointed it out, Joe. How she does. Immediately, Bloom goes in workman's corduroy overalls, black gansey, blah, blah, blah. Man is incorrigible. Sir Walter Raleigh brought from the New World that potato and that weed. It's so obvious now that
the costume change. And this is the point. I can't remember who made the point last week. I think it was Katrina, that this is more like a movie than a play, because you couldn't do a costume change at that pace. And also, I think it's a silent movie, because the pieces that are spoken would fit. They're all little sentences for the most part. Those silent movies with Charlie Chaplin or something, and now a car chase, you know, there appears across the bottom of those sort of things. So just ties in there, as you say, the costume change. But I think if you get that, then you begin to see this, you know, you need, you know, the reading process slows it down very much. And if you bear it in mind, it's very easy to follow then. So Bloom's subconscious is something else, isn't it?
Yes, thank you, Joe.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's excellent. And I think it makes sense for Bloom to consciously or unconsciously go into that fantasy, because, you know, all throughout the day he's being hit on and bullied, and you know, and now it's late at night, he's tired, and this is that compensatory factor.
Well, you see, it's Zoe has been nice to him. So his hallucination gets nice, but then turns sour.
Yeah.
You know it's hallucination because the fire brigade doesn't usually come out and set fire to people. You know, usually the fire brigade puts out fires, but in the crazy dream world, they start them. But they're but it's a sign that Bloom is a man under great pressure. Has anyone ever seen a person hallucinating in a public place? It's a very,
yes,
very frightening. I don't mean
no, you don't mean on drug. You mean
not brought on by just naturally.
Yes,
person who would be quote unquote mad.
Yes,
I've only seen it once, and they were terrified by whatever it was they were seeing, and so it's very frightening. And Bloom is in a very poor state of mind.
Well, he's on this wild mission to follow Stephen, and he's I think he picked that mission out because he didn't. I mentioned it, I think last week, he didn't want to go home.
Yeah.
He wanted to make sure that before he went home, it was very, very late at night.
Yeah.
And you know, Molly and Boylan had plenty of time to get tired of each other.
Yeah.
And you know, so when he got home, and as we will find out, even then, he takes Stephen home with him.
Yeah.
For a multiple reasons, and one of the reasons is it's kind of a foil.
I think he's on absinthe. I think they're all on absinthe, and maybe not the women, but they're on absinthe. And
Bloom wasn't there when the absinthe was bought.
But it doesn't mean that you know the way these days it's impossible. You know what happens to young people is if they go to bars, they might have their drink spiked. And I just think that he's like someone who's had his drink spiked. He's not quite sure what's going on, but he knows he's tripping. And in Ireland, it's like something that can happen. And if if they're going to steal your handbag, they might spike your drink if they want to steal your purse or your phone or whatever. And if you're lucky, they'll put a smiley face on your bag, a smiley face sticker. So you realize afterwards what's happened to you.
Oh, really? That's okay.
So that's what being nice is. But it's just, and I think perhaps in Ireland, it was sort of like a game that, there was, if there was absinthe, if there was mushroom dust or whatever they take these, because mushrooms would have been around back then. And it was just something people did to other people. Because there's the whole trickster thing. And I also am wondering if Joyce, the three whores as they're called, Joyce they're actually in real life men who are like important people or something, and he hasn't named them, and he's dressing them up as women, and in his, okay, Bloom is having a fantasy or a hallucination, but Joyce is getting back at important people of the time. Now, I haven't read enough of Joyce to know who those three people are, but you know, how do you get a big dig at someone? Because you know, they're saying like Florrie doesn't know anything and is talking about the Antichrist coming and stuff like that. But was there somebody at the time who was famous, who was fat, that they were taking the piss out of? Sorry, so that's just what I'd be thinking while we were reading that.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's a really interesting idea. For me at this particular time, remember back in Oxen of the Sun, they tried to give Bloom a drink, which he poured under the table or poured in somebody else's
poured into
glass.
whoever was sitting next to him, his glass. Yeah.
I
think all he's had is a glass of wine, and he had something like a cider in the Ormond Hotel, but nothing else.
But he was around a bunch of really crazy acting people there in the Hollis Street Hospital. And I can tell you that that you actually don't have to imbibe anything if you're around people who are high as a kite and acting wild. It rubs off.
That's right.
And he's tired already. And if I may say so, you know, just hours before in the Nausicaa chapter, you know, he had a climax. So he's under a lot of stress from his wife's affair. He's tired, both physically and mentally tired. And he has just recently been around. He went from being with the guys in the Hollis Street Hospital, where he was concerned about Mrs. Purefoy, and he knew all the pressure she was under with 3 days labor. And then he's around all those crazy guys, including one that's talking about trying to seduce his daughter, Millie. And they're all drunk and crazy. And he's concerned about Stephen, and he goes from there to Nighttown. And Nighttown in itself is a kind of a hallucinatory setting, because not only do you have the brothels there, but in most areas of town like that, it is true cripples and people who have mental problems with no one to watch after them tend to drift down to those areas, and the cities tend to neglect them. So it gets really wonky. So it could have been that he took a sip of something, and that combined with all these other factors. Yeah, anyway. Yep. But the big find of today, thank you, Joe, very, very much. The big find of today was that very simple little thing right in the very beginning. Go on and make a stump speech out of it. And I will go back, actually, I will go back to the Cyclops episode
Mm.
where, in a sense, Bloom was trying to make some stump speeches there with the citizen. He was
Yes.
trying to be the rational person and presenting rational solutions to political and social problems.
The two girls, Florrie, is thought to be a person called Florrie Power, who was a real lady who worked there, and
Mhm.
Kitty Ricketts is pretty definitely Becky Cooper, the famous prostitute. That's the conventional view of this. People who've researched it, so that would kind of, there's nothing to stop it also referring to two famous politicians, something they couldn't be, but that's pretty definite. And because these people are all known, and and on the 12th of March 1925, they were all rounded up when nightclub was closed in a police raid.
That was in 1925 that happened?
Yeah, on the 12th of March 1925, this famous thing, the Irish Free State in all its majesty.
Oh, this is okay. This is after, of course, after
Afterwards,
the
yeah.
revolution.
Mind you, a few years later, they're all back in business.
Yeah, well, it's standard stuff too.
And that he puts that house. Forgive me, I haven't checked it, but at least the house we're in is number 81, I think, in Ulysses, whereas they actually operated out of number 82. But 81 was the center of this. What was it?
Yeah, they were trying to stop it.
Yeah, what is it, the white, whatever it is, society which pursued social purity. That was their headquarters.
Yeah.
And Joyce is certainly a brothel in USA. Is getting the address.
Which society was this, Joe?
I can't remember the name. But can you remember
Is
the
it
name?
the Legion of Mary, Joe?
No, they come there.
No, it was
hit them in March 25. This is much earlier, from the 1880s, I think, or thereabouts. What's it called? The white. It's the danger of speaking off the cuff, isn't it? You give it with a bad memory.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a great name. Yeah, the White Cross Volunteer Association.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which pursued social purity. It wasn't religious, and there they sent out these men would walk around in groups of two, encouraging people not to participate in the affairs of the street, and to turn their headquarters into a brothel. I think this is a fantastically witty thing to have done. They were wound up long with, but the Legion of Mary then were Roman Catholic. Still are.
Yeah, it's still there.
Oh yeah, it's still there. And I know at school I was one secretary of our presidium of the Legion of Mary. So I like as a 17-year-old. But we weren't engaged in any of this heavy stuff. We did a lot of praying. So, it's just part of the underlying humor running through the whole thing. It's phenomenal.
Well, and I'll bring out my standard theory again. I think Joyce was incredibly sympathetic and understanding of how people ended up in Nighttown.
Yeah.
Talk about the working girls in particular.
Absolutely.
Because they're, to fall in a rigidly moral society, even through no fault of your own, there's not a whole hell of a lot of choices.
Yeah. Let's
Uh,
say, yeah.
And I believe Joyce, since he liked to talk to people, I believe that he actually would sit around and be involved in discussions, and he would, probe and try to figure out, why they were there, how they ended up there. There's offhanded comment by one of the girls that said it was a plumber. It was my downfall.
Yeah.
I know, it sounds so like a conversation you must have had with one of the girls. And yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I think the whole scene with Alexander J. Dowie is just right on target.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's
yeah. I think Joey had by this time run off with all the money. You know. I think it was in Chicago he went to. He was Scottish. I better not start talking again without
okay,
memory can play terrible
but
tricks.
anyway, the idea is that one of the preachers that were down there actually also went over to the United States, because of course Dowie talks exactly like a fire and brimstone preacher,
Yeah.
who also is probably getting a lot of money on the side from
Yeah.
his converts. He's kind of somewhere between a proselytizer and a con man, as many are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I like little details, like on page 443 in Wordsworth, a heavy sigh droops over her sleeping eyelid.
Mm.
And then there was the other little detail where when Virag, the second conversation between Bloom and his father, and Virag points out the injection mark on the thigh, which was probably for venereal. I mean, the implication was it was for venereal disease.
Yeah.
Which would have been rampant if for no other reason. I mean, the British Navy traveled all over the world and were away from home for long periods of time, and probably investigated every brothel and every port they ever entered. So of course, Nighttown would have been rife with infection.
They wouldn't have had the hygiene either. Basic
And of course,
hygiene.
and in 1925, the British Navy would no longer be there, so they would have lost a lot of their customers.
Yeah, with the departure of the army and the
Yes, it would have been a time, well, but as was mentioned earlier, after these clean sweeps, I mean, there are clean sweeps that happen all the time, but if you haven't really solved the basic social problems, which almost never happens, slowly but surely these places spring up again, and the need on all sides becomes larger, and once it happens.
Yeah. There's a man called Val O'Donnell, who was a senior civil servant. He's retired now, but he's also a Joyce expert, and he's into theatre and Shakespeare, and he's really he's retired now, but he did one-man shows, and he had a great Cyclops show that's performed on Bloomsday. But he once called, because he was senior civil servant, he called for the file from the 23rd of March 1925, and he saw it and he read it, and he said it was like reading Ulysses. There were sort of all the names, but among the things they had done, they bought rosary beads because to give to the girls. So you can imagine the setup where they had to get permission to spend money on rosary beads to give
Mhm,
because
mhm.
they were being brought to Legionary shelters and all this sort of stuff, you know.
Mhm, mhm.
But he said it's like it was like reading a Joyce notebook, really, you know,
Mhm,
reading the
mhm.
file. And I would love to have been a fly on the wall, reading it over his shoulder, you know, he was doing
Mhm.
it.
I'm surprised that they have, well, maybe they don't. It seems like they would release that sort of thing by this time.
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know how that's organized or arranged, but this one was just the department file, you know. So
Mhm.
maybe it has been released and nobody. I mean, you could
Nobody
certainly get some
paid.
freedom of
Yeah,
information now, I'm sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking by
Gosh, you got
now,
an idea there. Yeah.
after they had the release of the report on the Magdalene laundries,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
on the Brotherhood, I mean,
Yeah.
can't be any worse than those.
Yeah.
Oh, no, definitely not.
Yeah.
And
No, this was more like Keystone Cups, you know, it was, you know, how many army lorries would they need? And memos going from one department to another, asking how many
Mhm,
guns they could put in an army truck comfortably and things like that, you know.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
Civil
Yeah.
service trying to carry out social purity exercise, you know. Maybe it's not funny now. I shouldn't be laughing, but I'm not laughing at what they were doing. I'm
That's
laughing
okay,
at the
George.
idea of doing
You can laugh. It is after all, it was you
You're in
who
good
wrote the
company.
comedy book. Ladies
Yeah.
and gentlemen, Duncan, thank you for adding me to the Zoom list. I really appreciate it. I have to go to Katie Daly's right now. There's a comedy show on, and
Okay.
one of my friends is organizing the comedy. He's started a comedy group. It's called Four Corners. So I have to go and show my support to him.
Okay, great. Well, I'm
But I
really
thank you
glad
all.
you came.
And
Enjoy.
please God, I will see you this night week, please God.
Good
Okay.
night.
Thanks.
Night.
Thank you,
Very
Jim.
good.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Thank you
Bye bye,
kindly.
everybody.
Yeah.
Bye
Yeah.
bye.
Bye.
I think I better-
Okay.
Okay.
So I think it's getting kind of late and we should say our adieus and on we go. I will post something. I thought that Donna was going to be here to talk about a big event on the Dubliners at one of the James Joyce Society or something. Anyway, let me say goodbye for now. I'll post something on the timeline.
Okay.
Bye, thank you.